Good morning, Beacon. Welcome to our YouTube service at 9:30. You can join us also at 11 o'clock on Facebook. My name is Tuli Patel, and I'm a full third of your leadership team, along with Reverend Emilie and Reverend Dr. Robin Tanner, who is on our YouTube chat. So you should go over to the chat box and say hello to her. I'm also so excited this morning to welcome Elise, one of our youth, as well as Misa Iwama, our Director of Music Ministries. We're so happy all of you joined us today at our virtual services. So welcome, Elise. You are one of our youth. Tell us a little bit about how the summer has gone for you. And a very important question, since the theme for today is play, what's your favorite game?
Well, the summer's been going pretty well. A lot of stuff has been digital, so that's been a little weird to get used to. But after that, it's been a pretty good summer. My favorite game, it's kind of a tie between two games, and they're wildly different games, but Cribbage and Dungeons and Dragons.
One of these days when we are together again, Elise, I would love a little tutorial in Dungeons and Dragons. I'm quite fascinated by it, but thank you so much. And Reverend Emilie, what's your favorite game and what do we have going on at Beacon today? Virtual Beacon, I should say.
My favorite game is a game that we got in England probably 20 years ago called Rapido, which is Pictionary, but with Play-Doh. So instead of drawing something, you're actually making it out of Play-Doh. And if you lose, then you get a bit of your Play-Doh taken away from you. So it gets ever smaller and you have to continue to create things out of it. And we just love it. Probably not a great game for a pandemic, because you have to share Play-Doh. And every year you have to get new Play-Doh because it always goes bad. We've got a great day lined up. It's beautiful outside. I hope that everyone has power this morning and is watching us not from their car as they're trying to charge. We hope that you all are safe. But we've got a great day. We've got at 1 o'clock. We've got Camp Kindness Counts. Tuli, tell us again who is coming to Camp Kindness Count. What grades?
Pre-K through 5th grade. And it's been really interesting. Some of the parents also log on because some of the exercises that we can do apply to all ages. So You all should come.
And then at 2 o'clock, our 9th graders, which Elise is a 9th grader, we have our coming of age orientation. I'll be there as a parent. That's coming up. That's virtual. And then at 5 o'clock, we have the chaplain is in. Reverend Robin and I will be on the Waldron porch. But if you'd like to come and sign up for your 20-minute slot, please do. You have to do that before noon today. Also, of course, we have our service right now, 9:30 on YouTube. It'll show again at 11 o'clock. Our welcome will be live, but that'll be on Facebook. And we hope that you'll come to social hour either at 10:30 or at noon. This is a great time for you to see your fellow Beacon folks. We absolutely miss you all. So it's so great for us. Even if we just get to see your picture on the Zoom call, it just means so much to us. And the other thing is we are constantly getting feedback about what works and what doesn't work. So if you tried it last month, try it again this month because we're constantly experimenting with new things.
Thank you so much, Reverend Emilie. And Misa, do you have a favorite game? What have you been playing these days?
I've been playing the kind of game where you do music editing with recordings, and it's actually like the most fabulous game. But I also love that just this morning, I've learned that I have 3 games that I need to look into. Including Dungeons and Dragons and Cribbage, which I have never played. And the thing that I really like is that I'm always learning new things. I'm always learning new things from people. And I'm also learning something from Elise because we have worked together several times, and several times we have done versions of Spirit of Life in the sanctuary and recording wise. And a little spoiler alert, you're going to hear Elise singing Spirit of Life at the end of the service. So Elise, tell me, how did you get that sense of fun and sense of play when you did this recording? Because it's just, it was so joyful.
Well, I danced during the recording. But also, since we weren't able to be in the sanctuary, I kind of had to imagine that I was in front of a bunch of people and that I was actually performing for a bunch of people, even though I was technically in my living room at 9 o'clock at night.
It was so wonderful that we're all learning to do things in a different way, including how to do services and how to do music together. And I just really, really appreciate your contribution today. It's amazing. So, speaking of contributions, there's other people who are doing a lot of work at Beacon, and they don't always appear on screen. So just like take a second to say that Donnie is helping us with our broadcast every week, and thank you very much, Donnie. We have Vincent, who's been doing video editing, Leslie, who is keeping the building in great shape, Brian, who is in the office and keeping things going administratively, and another big presence that we don't see on screen, but is one of the main voices of the service is John O'Neill, who has been arranging music. And just today, speaking of the Spirit of Life, you'll hear later, it's a new version of it again. I think that by the end of this whole experience, we're going to have 12 versions of Spirit of Life, which is a pretty amazing way to play with a song. And so speaking of song, now we are going to begin with When the Spirit Says Do. The interesting thing about this song is that really only one word changes for every verse. But I think that could also make you think, what doesn't change? And what is the song telling me? That is the constant throughout the whole song. And the words are, you got to do when the Spirit says do. That's basically the whole idea of the song. But you keep on saying you got to do something when the Spirit says to do something. And then all of a sudden, in the repetition of those words, you think, this song is about being open to what the Spirit is saying. And that, to me, is all about feeling the spirit of play. So, I will shout out some different verbs as we go along.
People should feel free to sing,
You
right,
got to
Misa?
do when the Spirit says do. You got to do when the Spirit says do. When the Spirit says do, you got to do. Oh Lord, you got to do when the Spirit says do. Okay, so how about for the next word that we're going to change out, we sing. You got to sing when the Spirit says sing. You got to sing when the Spirit says sing. You got to sing, oh Lord, you got to sing, oh Lord, you got to sing when the Spirit says sing. Okay, so this time I see a lot of dancing on the screen, so we will say we got to dance. You got to dance when the Spirit says dance. You got to dance when the Spirit says dance. When the Spirit says dance, you got to dance, oh Lord, you got to dance when the Spirit says dance. All right, this is our last time, so in honor of our theme, play. You got to play when the Spirit says play. You got to play when the Spirit says play. When the Spirit says play, you got to play. Oh Lord, you got to play when the Spirit says play. And now for our chalice lighting.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We are Rachel.
Phoenix.
Dorfin.
And Rob.
We are New Beacon friends, and this morning we light our home chalice, the symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith, with these words.
We light this chalice
for the light of truth and reality, the warmth of love and compassion, and the fire of commitment and promise. We light this symbol of our faith as we gather together.
This summer, many of us have been fortunate enough to get in some beach time. We've built sandcastles, jumped in waves, and generally played at the ocean side. Can you close your eyes just for a second, even as you're watching this, and bring to mind what that felt like? Can you feel even now the warmth on your skin, the sand between your toes, and the smell of salty air? being on a beach or by the waterside brings us so much joy. But then add in being able to play, and that takes it to a whole other level. Burying our body parts in sand along with any other willing participant, carrying back water from the frothy waves, trying to turn buckets upside down to make sandcastles. The playing is so much fun. And for those of us who didn't make it down to the beach, maybe we were climbing trees or playing board games or even doing jigsaw puzzles. And so play can be a spiritual practice. We do it regularly, and if we don't do it, we feel strange or unsettled. But you might ask, isn't brushing teeth or emptying the dishwasher also the same? There is a difference between a routine everyday task and a spiritual practice, because we bring intention and attention to our spiritual practices. Although some might say that brushing teeth or emptying a dishwasher can be a spiritual practice for them, most people don't think about it too much or pay it too much attention. But back to play and why it's a spiritual practice. When we play, we're in the moment. We forget the past and let go of the future. And without even knowing it, while we are playing, we are learning about gravity, about weight and balance, about heat, and also about our relationships with others. This is why playing is so important for kids and people of all ages. The learning kind of sneaks up on you, and we learn things we didn't expect to learn. We have imaginary worlds and magical kingdoms, and so can learn to be hopeful and excited about our world. Our creativity can blossom, and we don't know what the result might be. When we play, we also understand ourselves and others better, and that is what makes it a spiritual practice. But we often forget to do it regularly and make room for it. We get very caught up in a busy world trying to get things done. As a reminder of how important play is, I'd like to tell you about one of the results of play. One of the most interesting results of play comes to us from the Hindu religion. As Unitarian Universalists, it's important to know about the different religions of the world so that we can understand ourselves better as Unitarian Universalists and develop deep respect and tolerance for other religions. So in Hinduism, the entire universe was the result of play. The ultimate reality called Brahman was just playing, hanging out if you will, and the result of this playing was the universe. The act of playing is called Leela. Many of you might have heard Leela as someone's name. While it may be used as a name in many other religions and have various meanings, in Hinduism, Leela means divine play. So imagine that. In Hinduism, the entire universe was created as an act of play. Brahman was hanging out playing, and the universe was created. And Leela also means play, as in play acting. So you will have Ram Leelas, where the story of Ram, the Hindu god, is told. There's a saying, all the world's a stage. The saying is by William Shakespeare, who wrote this famous line in his play, As You Like It. So let's make sure to make time and room to play. You never know what might come out of it. And make it a practice, something we do regularly with intention and attention.
Won't you join me now in lighting candles of joy and sorrow in your home? This is a ritual that we do each week in order to bring our personal lives into a community of care. We light candles of sorrow this week after we as a community have faced a hurricane and power outages in the midst of a pandemic. It feels too surreal to be true. We light these candles of sorrow and we extend our community of care to each and every one of you who is still without power. We hope that you are safe. Please let us know if you need anything. We light candles of joy today as well because we know that joy is woven into our lives in each and every moment, should we look for it. And so this day, I invite you kindle a flame. But don't just kindle it. I invite you to share it. Share it in the chat. Share it with someone at Beacon. Give them a call. Say, this is what's happening in my life and I wanted you to know. Won't you tell me what's happening in yours? These moments of connections are powerful. For every sorrow shared means a sorrow lessened, and every joy shared is multiplied. This day we light also a candle of witness. A candle for Maurice Gordon, one of New Jersey's own, who died on May 23rd, 2020, in Bass River Township in New Jersey. Maurice Gordon was described as joyful and funny, with a wide smile and a contagious laugh. He was raised in Spanish Town, Jamaica, and came to the United States at the age of 19. Maurice was studying chemistry at Dutchess Community College in New York. He also worked in food delivery. He said he liked his job because it gave him a chance to meet and chat with new people. Growing up, he sang in the church choir, working hard to get good grades, and he was close to his younger sister, Yannick. He called his mother frequently to check in and tell her about his life. He loved the singer, Ariana Grande. Maurice Gordon was 28 years old. He was unarmed when he was killed by a state trooper on the Garden State Parkway in New Jersey. The circumstances of his death are under investigation. And so this candle was lit for the life of Maurice Gordon, for his mother and his sister Yannick, and all who knew and loved him. I have long admired how Unitarian Universalists make sacred objects out of ordinary things. To create a chalice out of a potted plant, or out of a piece of wood that maybe came down in the storm, or to even take an ice cream cup, to fill it with water, and to put an electric light in it. For our meditation this morning, we are immersing ourselves in the power of play and its capacity to be anywhere around us. So would you join me, please? I invite you to take a moment to breathe deeply, to breathe in through your nose and to breathe out through your mouth. Do that a couple more times, and with each time that you breathe out, imagine just letting go of the anxiety or fear or sometimes despair that so many of us are holding in this time. Just breathe it out. Make your exhale very long. I invite you to close your eyes and go on a visualization with me. I invite you to visualize your favorite beach. Even if you've only been to the beach on a computer screen or in your mind, imagine a beach where you would want to be. Any place where the sea or the ocean are there. I now invite you to look to the skies. There is a bird in the sky. It's not a seagull, but it's something else, and it seems to be holding a clam in its talons. Maybe it's even in its beak. The birds are dropping the clams, and you know that often they drop the clams on purpose to break the shells and to get the food, the sweetness out of the clams. But they are not doing that this time. There's no purpose in what they are doing. They drop the clams and catch them again and again in this playful dance. Drop and catch, and they caw in laughter. Take a moment just to enjoy them, watching them play and laugh. I invite you now to imagine a cold, snowy environment, your favorite cold, snowy environment. Maybe it's your street after a good snow. Maybe it's going to the mountains. Put on your warm clothes and go there for a minute. Allow the cool to take off the heat from the ocean. I invite you to move down a street, to look at the roofs and the sky again. There on the rooftop is a raven, a black raven standing there, and you watch in silence. What is the raven doing? The raven has a stick in his talons, and the raven moves, slides, glides down the rooftop. The raven seems to be skiing, falling down the rooftop, landing on the ground, and then flying back up to the top of the roof again so that it can go down one more time. You laugh to yourself. Could a raven actually enjoy skiing, snowboarding? Take a moment just to enjoy this sight. And now return to yourself and your breath, keeping your eyes closed. Consider the moments of play in your life, the chances and opportunities for doing something that has no purpose other than to simply have fun, to laugh and to exhale, to be in the world. And as you breathe, make an intention for this week to look to the skies and the rooftops, to the ground, and even around you in your communities, to see the ways that the earth is playing. Humanity, animals, creation, life itself. There is no purpose except to enjoy and to have fun. Breathing in We breathe in joy, and breathing out, we give thanks for that joy. Blessed be. Ashe. Amen.
In just a minute, you're going to hear our 6th through 8th graders talk to you about our offering. You'll notice the words that I have suggested and the ones that they made up themselves. I can't think of a better example to show play at work. Play at play really happening right in front of your eyes. Just watch their expressions. They're quite wonderful. You should also know that many of these budding tweens and teens, young teens, are sometimes so shy that they don't even turn on their cameras, but they did not hesitate today at all. I didn't even have to urge them. So please enjoy the message from our 6th through 8th graders.
Last week, we heard Ted and Judy Brewer talk about the legacy of belonging to Beacon. They said that their daughters were quite happy to be a part of classes and groups at Beacon. We want to give you an idea of what these groups and classes are like.
For today's offering, we'd like to tell you a little about how we've been planning since the pandemic. You can just imagine that those who went before us and those who are yet to come will be doing similar.
Every weekday, we gather via Zoom and have debates, reflection questions, and game night.
It's been fun.
I know many of you have the epic gamer skills when it comes to math like I do. So we have met, 21 times 5 times, which is...
You got it. We have met 105 times, and it's been fun.
So you see, the past 2 weeks, Jermaine and Tuli have let us, the students, run the group. I guess they thought that around 100 practice rounds were good enough.
It was so much fun planning and delivering, and we want to keep doing it.
So to make all this possible, wouldn't you generously give this morning?
Maybe double what you're planning to give? I know, let's give so much that Sammy can't keep up.
We know you have a choice of where you practice generosity, but aren't we working?
Thank you for your considerate contribution.
Hi, I'm Jennifer. Shortly after the pandemic and virtual education started, I asked my son Henry to give the Beacon afternoon Zoom chats a try. I could tell he was starting to feel isolated and not having much of a schedule, and I was hoping that would give him something to look forward to at the end of a day of getting through virtual school. It turns out to have been a lot better than I could have anticipated. Within a week, Henry was reminding me that it was time for him to log on. Within 2 weeks, Henry was asking me to leave the room because he wanted time to hang out for his time with Tuli and Jermaine and his Beacon friends, and not have me trying to lean in and say hi to people. I think one of the reasons it worked out so well is that the kids just have a lot of fun. They get a chance to find out what's going on in each other's day, they discuss really interesting questions, and they have a lot of fun on game day. Just one example is that I did not know until very recently that Dr. Tuli Patel can use teenage gamer slang in regular conversation, and it's a real riot. They were having so much fun that I started asking why parents couldn't have their own Zoom chat, and it turns out that we do, and you should try that too. There have been lots of other great benefits. We've had really good family dinner conversations because of the daily questions that the kids ask us. And I've noticed that Henry is getting a lot more confidence in working virtually and collaboratively with people he doesn't know. This has come up in a couple of the virtual summer camps he's done this summer with students he's never met before. He feels a lot more comfortable participating and voicing his opinion and working collaboratively in that kind of environment. I think the benefits are going to be spreading into areas that we couldn't see for a while, and more than anything, it's become a really important part of his daily routine. This is just one of the ways that Beacons become so important to us. I hope you're able to give when you can. There will be instructions appearing on your screen shortly for ways to give to Beacon. Thanks for your generosity.
On a peninsula in upstate New York, on a lake called Oneida Lake, named for the nation of people that lived there who were part of the Haudenosaunee, or people of the Longhouse, there lived two little girls, one at the top of the peninsula and one at the bottom. And looking all around for miles and miles, with the exception of the 1-hour school bus ride to and from school, the little girls found no other children, and so they decided instantly to be friends. They made pleas and a convincing argument at last to one of their parents that since they were the only two children, there ought to be a treehouse. And so one was built at the very end of that peninsula, about 10 feet from the shallow waters. The next several years were spent crafting castles and forts, superhero hideouts, and the very first home on Mars. The two girls used the leaves and the fallen twigs to make beds for teddy bear hospital clinics. Late into August, they collected the berries from the woods that could not be eaten and would mix it with lake water and algae to make potions. In the springtime, they gathered all of the new buds and beautiful flowers and adorned the treehouse with the scent of the coming summer. Winter found shelter from the bitter winds of Pluto and the moon in the treehouse. And soon, a new family appeared on the peninsula, and with them, those 3 new children more than doubled the community of kids. We found ourselves playing again and again at the treehouse, in part because the new family included the town dentist, and everyone wanted to avoid lectures on flossing. When summer came, there were no supervisors for our play. Our parents or grandparents would kick us out of the house right after breakfast, and we would only return for a quick peanut butter and jelly, or in the case of my granny, a mayonnaise and sugar sandwich. We'd come home for dinner, wolf down dinner as fast as we could, and then back out again to see the fireflies. Season after season, year after year, there was the treehouse, the play, the community of imagination. Now, my childhood was far from perfect, but playtime saved me. When the world was filled with arguing adults or sloshing drinks and terrifying images of exploding buildings and men and women in military fatigues using words I could not understand on the news, playtime allowed not only an escape, but something deeper. In the words of Mr. Rogers, play gives children a chance to practice what they are learning. We were superheroes saving the earth from the climate crisis. We were witches brewing potions that could heal a sick grandparent and heal a pained marriage. We were queens and kings building new worlds where no one went off to war, and peace was wagered with Reese's peanut butter cups. We were space explorers where the monsters and the terror were met with flashlights and holding each other's hands. Now, I suppose some of you are thinking, as I long have, yes, that idyllic world is something that all children should have. It's fine for children, right? Something, though, surely we abandon in our tween years for far more somber enterprises. But in truth, many of our children are no longer playing either. More and more, they are supervised and structured at every turn. The pandemic has created learning modalities that are increasingly abandoning play for online worksheets with single-sought answers and linear thinking. Art and music classes are taking low priority against the core courses, and the essential exchanges of hands and objects are making free play in a COVID-19 world almost obsolete. But play was also under fire far before COVID-19,
as we parents felt the pressure to have every act our children completed filled with utility and safety restrictions rendered neighborhood play almost extinct. For our Black and non-Black children of color, so often play was also filled with the fear of safety as a generation found their Emmett Till in Tamir Rice. Playing while Black is a real threat. And technology brought this new generation into expanding spheres where sometimes Minecraft became a treehouse. But at other times, there were pockets of isolation, violence, bullying, and exploitation. You might rightfully wonder, how can we even speak of play in the midst of a pandemic and a revolution for Black lives, for human rights? I would answer, how can we not? Play is a pivotal spiritual value. For children, they begin to practice what it means to be human, and moreover, to try and seek to enact, to imagine, to build the world that we have told them to dream about. Play is core to the way we Unitarian Universalists understand development and spirituality and our core evolution in our spiritual lives. It's why we have curricula, right? Like spirit play. In the words of Martin Buber, play is the exaltation of the possible. Several nights ago, my family began a strange practice, one that I had not planned or structured at all. It's been so hot that I decided the only time of day I could run would be at night. And so I started to get ready to go for a run by myself. I put on my shoes, I got my gear ready, and because it was night, I made sure I had some reflective things. And just as I readied to go out the door, I found 3 people wanting to come with me. And soon I found that my workout was all but abandoned, but there were light-up shoes, a flashlight, a new soundtrack that I'd not exactly chosen, and a group of neighborhood kids playing in an empty green space, yes, keeping socially distanced, and several teens on bikes who circled around us and frankly exemplified better manners than most adults do in daylight to each other. It was this magical world that started to unfold past sunset. And I wondered as I watched the older teens on bikes telling little ones to stay out of the street and kind of watching for cars, if we weren't birthing a new world right then and there. One of the 6-year-olds fashioned us superheroes at one point, running in the night. And the elaborate stories started to unfold. I felt my soul lift a little as we journeyed into this world without COVID, with more kindness. And for a moment, I didn't worry about the bills. I didn't worry about the second quarantine. I didn't worry about the elections or the endless climb of the climate crisis. And then I remembered why we fight, why we socially distance, why we put on a mask, what we fight for, and moreover, how we are called to build a new world. I fell in love with play once more in that elusive creation in my own soul. I wrote these words to our 2-year-old son, Benjamin, after he and I played the other morning in a spot of dirt where nothing seems to grow in our yard. What will I tell you, little one, of this time? That we stayed together, that we screamed over burnt dinner and wept at our screams and had kitchen dance parties. That sleep was a distant memory, but your beautiful spirit made playing in the dirt mystical. That we wiped groceries and sneezed with panic waves, that we snuck into your room to contemplate the next terror and the armor we would weld for you. That we looked at stars and studied each futterby as if it was the spirit herself descending on the tomato plant flower. That each dawn, willing or not, the birds sang us into being, that we noticed and fought and leapt for that we prayed, for which we were made. Leap with me, beloved. Play with dirt. Wonder at each futterby. Leap toward that which we were made for. Feed your spirit, beloved. Make the time away from the screen to discover the world unfolding at nightfall or dawn. Play notes without knowing what comes next. Sweep, broad, and dramatic gesture with pencil or paintbrush or stitch by stitch. And like the phoenix rising, discover your soul returning, the world emerging in this great play, act by act. So we have explored play throughout our entire service, the spiritual practice, truly, of tending to that spirit of life within us. How vital in any season, and most especially in the one in which we find ourselves. As we sang at the beginning with Misa, we have to do when the Spirit says do, dance when the Spirit says dance, and play when the Spirit says play. Beloved, I hope in the week to come you find moments, however fleeting, to tend to that spirit of life within you and within each of us. And know that though we are miles apart, we are indeed in this together. Join us for some together time right after our service. It'll appear on the screen, the instructions to join our social hour, where you'll get to have some conversation and see the constellation that makes Beacon. We hope that you'll make some time today to connect with one another, and that wherever you are, you know that your light is yet shining, and that together we are a beacon.